dreams, I won't let them go. These faces don't faze me, I'ma get it on my own. Cause I ain't never asked for no help, I just did it by myself. Can't nobody tell me no, no, no. And they ain't gotta love you, long as you just love you, you gon' be alright on your own. Straight up the dome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Off the Dome, that's who we are, that's where we be. Welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where two sports lovers sit and give their hot takes. Off the Dome. Quick shout out to Ezzy for that intro song. It is called Off the Dome. Very good song. Very good name. Go ahead and give him a listen on Spotify. That is Ezzy, E-Z-Z-I. If you're listening in right now, you're probably on New Rock Radio, newrockradio.us, streaming the best and your favorite rock music 24/7. Make sure to listen to it at all times. Over 1,000 songs on that playlist. Local stuff, national stuff. Doesn't matter. It's on there. New stuff, old stuff. Also got newcountryradio.us that is live and up and running. Plenty of songs on that playlist as well. If you like country music, go ahead and give that a listen. 24/7, you've got some country music on there. If you're watching in live on Radio House Studios, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, we really appreciate you for watching in. And if you're listening on New Rock Radio, come on and watch us. Got a live camera. You can see us at all times. We also want to thank Petra Restaurant and Lounge for sponsoring us. Petra is the best dining experience in the area, offering daily specials in a fantastic atmosphere. A large wine selection and a beautiful lounge add to the already great food for a can't-miss experience. They also have a great catering menu and do some great events, so make sure to check them out. That is Petra Restaurant and Lounge, located at 1036 West Airline Highway, or give them a call, 985-359-8888. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Off the Dome Sports Podcast, as well as on Twitter at @off_the_Dome Pod. Let's go ahead and get this started. Talking about some spokes ball. And the way we typically start it off is with a team that everybody knows and loves in this area, and that is the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, put on a great show the past few weeks.
3 in a row. Only time all season that we've won back-to-back games, and then we made it 3 in a row on Sunday.
It's just a shame that we cannot make the playoffs.
Yeah, even though we got the win against the currently number 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles, we beat them 20-10. Even though we did that, it is not possible for us to make the playoffs, unfortunately, as Tampa Bay beat Carolina. We really needed Carolina to win that game in order for us to have a chance going into the last week of the season to maybe take the NFC South. But Tampa Bay ended up pulling off that game. I believe it was in overtime or right at the end of the fourth quarter. Either way, Tampa Bay beat Carolina, so we are out of the playoff picture. But looking where we were...
Well, technically, we weren't out of the playoff picture when that happened. We could no longer win the division when that happened. But the reason we were out of the playoff picture is because the Packers beat the Vikings.
Yeah, that's true. We could have had like 25 different things happen and then us sneak into the wild card. That is true.
It was the Packers lose 2 weeks in a row. So last weekend, this week, and the Seahawks lose
next week or this upcoming week, and then Tampa lose and us win. There was a couple things that had to happen, but either way, we're no longer in the playoff picture. But like I was going to say, like looking at where we were about midway through the season, I mean, we were 1-5, and then we were 4-9, and now we're sitting here at 7-9, chance to push to 8-9 next week. I'm proud of what we did over the past few weeks, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We didn't have the greatest game against Philly, but we still won. It was 20-10. Our defense played phenomenal. Marshawn Lattimore finally made his way. Oh, you got a little bit shorter there, bud. Get on my level. But yeah, Marshawn Lattimore made his way back after a lacerated kidney.
So that's what it was.
We found out that the injury was a lacerated kidney. I'm sure everyone else on earth knew that, but I never knew. But he was out for 8-9 weeks. Finally made his way back, and he gets a pick six with 5 minutes left in the game to ice it for the Saints. So, that kind of helped shape off the playoff picture, not only in the NFC South where we know the Bucs are going to win the division, but for the NFL as a whole. If Philly won the game, they would have won their division as well as secured the number 1 seed, but they don't get the win over the team that they were supposed to. And now they're still sitting at the 1 seed, but coming into last week, things could definitely change. the Cowboys are 12-4, Philly's 13-3. If the Cowboys win and Philly loses, Cowboys have the tiebreaker. They take the division. They may not take the number
which
one
is
seed.
crazy.
Yeah, Philly has been the number one seed they've been the number one seed since the very beginning of this season, and they may lose it in the last week.
Yeah.
I don't. It's weird to see that for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look into the current playoff standings here. We'll do the NFC first.
Okay.
I'll break it down into 3 categories. We have clinched the playoff spot, in the hunt, and on the bubble.
Okay.
Okay, so the teams that have clinched the playoff spot, we have the Eagles, Niners, Vikings, Bucks. Those are the division. Well, as of right now,
The first through fourth seed.
Yeah.
Division winners.
Cowboys and Giants. Cowboys and Eagles could flip-flop, like you just said.
And
but
the
those are
Giants have locked it up.
Yeah, those are the 6 teams that have, regardless of what happens, will make the playoffs. So the teams in the hunt, for the NFC, there's just one. And in the hunt is if the season ended today, these teams would make the playoffs.
Got you.
And we just have the Seahawks
Okay.
that are in the hunt.
So, I mean, because you have 6 teams who have locked up already. So
Yes.
you only have that 7th seed that people are fighting for.
And there's 2 teams on the bubble in the NFC, both in the NFC North. The Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers.
Can you say that? Can you say that first team one more time?
The Detroit Lions
You're dang right.
and the Green Bay Packers,
Don't talk about them.
who are playing each other.
They are playing
So,
each other.
If Seattle wins against the Rams,
It doesn't matter.
Nothing matters.
Well, it matters for the Lions. It doesn't matter for the Lions. It still matters for the Packers. Because if Seattle wins and Green Bay wins,
Seattle goes to the
there's
playoffs.
some sort of tie. No, there's some weird tiebreaker, I think. Let me hold up. We're gonna get into it. I promise, because I have a little thing pulled up here that I want you to do. That we'll see who makes the playoffs in that.
Okay.
But I know that if Seattle wins, Detroit can't make it, but Green Bay still can. It's weird though. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
But if Seattle wins,
If Seattle wins, Detroit can't make it.
But
if
if
Seattle
Detroit wins-
loses, if Seattle loses,
if Seattle loses, any of these teams can make it.
if Seattle loses, it's between Detroit and Green Bay.
Yes.
Whoever wins that game. So, me as a Lions fan, I'm hoping Seattle.
So fans of any of these 3 teams, don't give up yet. You still have a shot.
Correct. Absolutely.
It's not even that much of a long shot. I mean, all
No.
these possibilities are very possible.
Yeah, all 3 are very possible.
Moving on to the AFC, the teams that have clinched a playoff spot are the Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Bengals, Chargers, and Ravens. So that's 1 through 6 in that order as of right now.
Yep.
The teams in the hunt are the Jaguars and the Patriots. And the bubble.
The bubble.
It's Miami Dolphins, Steelers, and Titans.
It's weird to see how hard the Miami Dolphins have fallen off.
Yeah.
Because they were, at the one point, they were like contending for that division. Just a few weeks ago, they were like,
Yeah.
oh, the Dolphins might win their division. They might clinch it out against the Bills. I mean, I think they had the same record at one point. They both had 3 losses. But the Dolphins have, I think, lost 5 in a row. So
Yeah, they just couldn't stay healthy at the quarterback position. I mean, even when Tua
they
got
couldn't stay
hurt,
healthy at any position.
even
really.
when Tua got hurt, they were like, okay, we still have Teddy Bridgewater to fall back on. And then he got hurt twice.
Yeah, Tua's been out with concussions twice during the year. Both times Teddy came in, and both times Teddy came in, he got hurt.
Yeah.
They've turned to Skylar Thompson, and then they signed Mike Glennon off the practice squad. So if something happens to, if Teddy can't play again, or something happens to their other quarterback, then Mike Glennon might be the one taking snaps in Week 18.
So the only, I don't want to say the only, but one of the key matchups this week to determine the winner of the division in the AFC South is the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Tennessee Titans. The winner of that game will get the 4th seed.
Yeah. And before we move, before I move on into what I wanted to do, quickly, I want to just go over what happened in that Bengals-Bills game just a couple nights ago when we saw Damar Hamlin go down on the field. If you didn't see it, I really wouldn't suggest watching the video. It's actually very sad to watch again. But Damar Hamlin, player for the Buffalo Bills, secondary player, really stepped it up over the season. A guy who we didn't know before the year. He's been playing primary minutes for one of the best defenses in the league. Makes a tackle that looked very routine. Didn't look like much was up. He stands up after the play and immediately just collapses. He was down on the field for over 15 minutes. They had to do CPR. Took him to the hospital where they discovered he had a cardiac arrest on the field. So prayers up to Damar Hamlin, his whole family, everyone who was on the field when it happened, all the fans of either team, everyone who's affected by it. You can't really talk about the NFL right now without acknowledging it. It was a very interesting thing to be happening during just a live football game. It's something we've never seen before. But I think everyone who was a part of the broadcast handled it very, very well. The NFL, there's been some questionable stuff about the NFL saying, they were only giving them 5 minutes, and they were like, hey, you have to get back on the field, like this game has to happen type thing. They had some tweets go out by multiple different people across the sports media world that a lot of people are questioning, like Skip Bayless, stuff like that. But yeah, it was just a super sad situation and something that we can't really ignore. Just because of how monumentous it is and how much it really means to, the community as a whole. What we saw, I think something that if you can find a positive in this, the one positive that we did see is Damar Hamlin had a GoFundMe for a toy drive he was doing in Buffalo, and his goal was $2,500, and he hadn't met it yet before the game. Within 24 hours of that whole happening, it's over $6 million now.
Yeah.
So people are really rallying around him. We're seeing people all over the world donate. Local Buffalo companies, other NFL players, athletes from different sports. I know Andy Dalton, the Saints quarterback, donated $3,000. They had a wrestler who donated $5,000, accidentally spelled his name wrong in the donation, so he spelled it right and then donated another $5,000. Just people are, really donating to the cause, and prayers have been sent out for Damar all over the place. So I think it's a really good bonding moment for all the hate that happens in the world. This is something that has brought people together, and it's sad it takes something like this to do that. But again, prayers up to Hamlin and his family.
Yeah, even though it's like it's sad for it to have to take something like this for people to notice everything going on. I still think it's uplifting to know that even when something like this does happen, we know that people have each other's backs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we do have an update on his condition. This is 6 hours ago from the Buffalo Bills. It says Damar remains in the ICU in critical condition, with signs of improvement noted yesterday and overnight. He is expected to remain under intensive care as his healthcare team continues to monitor and treat him. So he is doing better. He is slowly recovering. And I'm just glad to see that, they did what they did as soon as they could and got him to the care he needed as fast as possible.
Yeah. Any signs of positivity are great. So it's good to see that, at least getting, he's at least showing some signs of improvement. I know they had said, at first he was 100% on a breathing intubation, he couldn't breathe on his own at all. But now, he's getting his vitals back up to normal. He's on 25 to 50% oxygen. So, he's not in great conditions by any means, but, just seeing some form of improvement is great to see. But now that we got that out of the way, let's get a little bit more positive in here. That Buffalo versus Cincinnati game did have big playoff implications, so we'll have to see how the NFL handles that situation. They said it's not going to be resumed anytime before the Week 18 games, so I'm assuming it'll be made up probably, if I had to guess, it'll probably be made up the Thursday night after this week's games, and then that'll change around the playoff structure a little bit. Maybe the NFC will play their playoffs one week with the AFC the next week, and they'll alternate. That's just an idea I had. I don't know if that's going to actually happen.
I'll give you credit for it if it happens.
If it happens, I do want credit for it.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking they'll do the NFC wild card one week, AFC wild card the next week, and then they'll do AFC divisional. They'll do NFC divisional at the same time as the AFC wild card. then they'll do AFC Divisional at the same time as they do the NFC Championship, and then the AFC Championship will take place instead of the Pro Bowl, and then they'll still have that week off. They do the Super Bowl, and then the Pro Bowl can be after the Super Bowl because it doesn't really matter. That's my thought process. But anyway,
I miss the way the Pro Bowl used to be.
yeah, when it was actually fun and cool, and they don't actually have a Pro Bowl game anymore. Now it's all the skills competitions and stuff, kind of like the All-Star game is in the NBA. So we'll see how it works.
One of my favorite things they did, I believe it was Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders actually like drafted their team.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was like
fun.
Yeah, that was cool. Like having the old head captains come back and draft their teams. That was pretty dope. But yeah, what I wanted to do is we're gonna pick all the Week 18 games together.
And then
it'll tell us exactly who's going to be in the playoffs and where they're going to be ranked. So Chiefs, Raiders,
Chiefs,
Titans, Jags. This one's big.
Jags.
I'm taking the Jags as well. If we disagree on one, we'll have to see who has the better argument for why they're going to win.
Okay.
Buccaneers, Falcons.
I'd say Falcons, just because Tampa's already locked up their playoff spot.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter either way, so I can click either button and Tampa's not going to change.
Yeah.
Patriots versus Bills.
I'll take the Bills.
I will take the Bills by 80. They've got something to fight for. The Vikings at the Bears.
Vikings.
Vikings can play their backups and still win, but they're not going to play their backups.
I also think that
They're fighting for the second seed still.
they're fighting for the second seed, and Justin Jefferson.
He needs, what,
He needs a big game.
187 yards or something to beat the all-time record for receiving yards in a season. So we'll see. Baltimore at Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Houston at Indy.
I'm going to take Houston.
I'm going to take Indy because Houston loses the number one pick if they don't win. I mean, if they don't lose. If they win, they lose the number one pick.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I'm going to take Houston and lose that game on purpose. New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. This has also very big implications for the playoffs. It's probably going to be a really close game as well.
But I'd have to take the Jets.
Yeah, I don't want to take the Jets because I kind of want to see Miami make the playoffs and make that push and see what they can do. But
I'd love to say Dolphins, but with
they have
quarterback issues,
they have nobody playing.
Yeah,
the injuries are killing them. So I'm going to take the Jets as well. Carolina at New Orleans. Neither team is going to make the playoffs, but
it doesn't really matter. But I think the Saints will win.
I think the Saints will probably win. Just so they don't have to get rid of Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis wants to prove a point. Browns at Steelers. Steelers also fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah. I'll take the Steelers. They had a pretty good win last week.
I will too. The Giants at the Eagles. Eagles have to get that number one seed. If they win, they get the number one seed. So I'm definitely going to take the Eagles there. Cowboys at Commanders.
Cowboys
as well. Chargers at Broncos. Now,
another one that doesn't really.
Here's the thing:
that still matters.
So it depends for the Chargers because if Baltimore beats the Bengals, then Baltimore will move up to the 5th seed. So the Chargers would have to win. If the Bengals win, it doesn't matter whether the Chargers win or not. They'll have the 5th seed. So I think it kind of depends on the timing of the games. I'm going to pull up the schedule real quick to see, when they play. So the Chargers will know. So the Chargers will know by that time whether or not they have to win to get the 5th seed. But since I'm expecting Cincinnati to beat Baltimore, I say the Chargers don't risk it. They'll let Denver win.
I still don't think Denver can win.
Even if the Chargers play all their backups. No. I mean, it doesn't matter either way. I'll click Chargers because I had them win the Super Bowl anyway. Cardinals at 49ers. 49ers have that spot to fight for. Mm-hmm. Rams at the Seahawks.
I'm going to take the Seahawks.
I want the Rams to win so bad.
So your Lions can get in.
Yeah, because I think my Lions deserve to be in the playoffs this year. I think they played well enough to get into the playoffs.
I think the Rams have definitely turned their season around
with Baker.
Behind the helm.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
Geno was so good at the start of the season.
I know, but the Seahawks have been so bad recently.
Yeah,
they've been very bad recently. Over the past They've won once out of the past 5 weeks.
I know they were missing Ken Walker for a while.
They won this past week against the Jets 23-6, to be fair.
Yeah.
But
the Rams blew out the Broncos like 51-14
a couple weeks ago. Like they beat them. Seattle is favored by 6.5 points.
Yeah,
so it's fair. We're going to take Seattle. And then Detroit, Green Bay.
I think Green Bay will win the game.
So if Green Bay wins the game, Green Bay makes the 7th seed. If Detroit wins the game, Seattle gets the 7th seed.
Oh.
So that's what we're looking at here.
So I guess Green Bay and Seattle.
So as long as Green Bay wins this weekend,
Yeah.
they're in. They're winning in for Green Bay
And I think they will.
in Lambeau on Sunday Night Football. As much as I want to pick Detroit,
Green Bay's been on a heater.
here's what I'll say. If the Rams win, Detroit wins. If Seattle wins, Green Bay wins.
Okay, that's fair.
That's what I'll go with. But since we have Seattle winning, I'll
What
go with
if-
Green Bay.
What if Seattle ties?
Let me factor that into my math here. So if Seattle ties, the winner of the Detroit Green Bay game
Okay.
goes to the
Yeah, that's what I
playoffs.
thought. And same thing if they lose, right?
Yeah, same thing if they lose. Winner of the Sunday Night Football game will go to the playoffs.
That's interesting.
So with the games we just picked, what we're looking at is Philly as the 1st seed, and this is the NFC, of course. Philly is the 1st seed, San Fran at 2, Minnesota at 3, Tampa at 4. So Tampa will be taking on Dallas. Minnesota will be taking on the Giants, who are the 6th seed, and then the 7th seed Packers will be going to San Fran. In the AFC,
that could line up pretty good.
in the AFC, we've got Kansas City at the 1st seed. This is, of course, not factoring in Buffalo versus Cincinnati
Yeah.
because of the game being stopped, like we talked about. I believe if Buffalo wins that game, they will take the 1 seed. If Cincinnati wins that game, then they will. So I think the way it goes, Kansas City will have the 1 seed unless Buffalo wins. If Buffalo wins, they'll take 1. Cincinnati will take 2. Kansas City will take 3.
Yeah, I think the Bengals have the 3 spot
The Bengals have the 3 spot.
no matter what would have happened. Right.
As long as Kansas City beats the Raiders, Cincinnati's in the 3rd spot. Actually, no, it's not true. Because if Cincinnati beats Buffalo, Cincinnati will move up to 2. Buffalo will drop to 3.
Oh yeah, because of the
So,
head-to-head. Yeah.
you know,
They'd both be 12-4.
But I, it's really tough. Either way, what we're looking at through this is Kansas City has the 1st seed, Buffalo has 2, Cincinnati has 3, Jacksonville at 4. So those will be the home teams. The away teams, we're looking at Jacksonville will go against the Chargers, who have the 5th seed. The 6th seed Baltimore Ravens go to Cincinnati, and the 7th seed Pittsburgh Steelers
That's crazy.
go to Buffalo. Pittsburgh, not a team that was supposed to make the playoffs this year.
No.
But Mike Tomlin might be the greatest coach of all time. He has never had a losing record since he's been coaching, and he started coaching in like 07,
And he's 8-8 right now.
05 or something. Like, he's never had a losing record.
Don't expect him to go 8-9.
No, no. And they do it with Kenny Pickett and George Pickens and an inefficient Najee Harris and a bad O-line and
Mitch
a hurt
Trubisky.
defense, and like nothing was adding up for Pittsburgh, and yet they're sneaking into the playoffs here. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting playoff picture. I think we're going to wait until Friday when our next episode will be to go through what the playoffs, based on these seeds, what we think is actually going to happen when we have our special guest on. Special guest, Mr. Rebo, our basketball guy. We're going to be talking a lot of basketball on Friday.
Oh, we're really going to test his basketball.
We will test his basketball
Guyness.
knowledge, I promise. But we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about basketball. So Friday's going to be a real interesting prediction episode. So definitely listen in on Friday. That's going to be a really cool episode for us. Getting out of the NFL into college football, LSU won 63-7. They
were the cheesiest.
They woke up feeling the cheesiest, coach. So LSU won in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Florida State won in the Cheez-It Bowl. And they will be playing each other in Orlando, where both bowls took place next season. So whoever wins that game woke up feeling the cheesiest. That is how that works. I think Cheez-Its should sponsor that game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
They
a
and then
great
have a
brand
whole
deal.
have a whole trophy and said I woke up feeling the cheesiest or whatever. That'd be dope. But yeah, LSU beat Purdue 63-7. They were running trick plays that they didn't even want to score on the trick plays, and they still were. Malik Neighbors was throwing the ball to Jaden Daniels for a touchdown. Malik Neighbors took off for a rushing touchdown. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier was getting snaps and looked like Joe Burrow. I mean, like there was nothing Purdue could do to slow down LSU.
We played 3 quarterbacks.
We played 3 quarterbacks and won the game 63-7. It was crazy. Insane and crazy at the same time. Very good game by the Tigers. And then we also have to talk about the other Louisiana team. We cannot ignore the Tulane Green Wave.
What a win.
What a win indeed. I was upset at first because I actually bet against them because it just made sense for USC to win.
Especially when they announced that
Caleb Williams was playing.
Yeah.
I mean, everything added up for USC to win that game, and through the first half, it really looked like they were. I think they were up 28-7 at one point. I know they were up 21-7 at one point. So I mean, everything was adding up for Tulane to lose that game, and then fourth quarter comes around, they're down 15 with 5 minutes left, and they win the game.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So shout out to the Green Wave, Jamie Luke, if you're listening. Shout out to Tulane.
So with 4 minutes left, they kind of really win. Things got kicked into gear for Tulane. They scored in 2 plays late in that fourth quarter. They had one drive.
A dropped punt at the one,
and then
safety.
They scored in 2 plays.
Yeah.
And then after that, on the kickoff, he went to fair catch it, because in college, if you fair catch it,
It's automatically to the 20. It doesn't matter.
And he muffed it and it went out of bounds at the 1. Then their defense gave him a safety, and they got the ball back and chewed the clock all the way down to the other goal line, where they finally punched it in.
Love to see it. Shout out to the Green Wave. 46-45 was that final score. And although he's not number 28, like somebody likes to say, number 22, Tyjae Spears is one of the greatest running backs in the country. One of the most underrated running backs in the country. He had an absolute day. He had a great season.
Yeah.
Big part of why Tulane was so good. I mean, if they did a final rankings after all the bowl games, which I don't think they do, they may or may not, Tulane would probably be in the top 12.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Pratt had a really good season, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Tulane just had a great year, and their coach is staying. So we can look to them having a great year next year maybe as well. So it should be a good year for Louisiana college football next season with how LSU is looking going into next year with Brian Kelly and all the recruits we got and all the transfer portal guys, and then how Tulane, they don't have a bunch of big names on that team other than like Tyjae Spears and Pratt, but they still made it work, and they were a very, very, very good team. So looking forward to next year seeing that.
Louisiana football's going to be, especially with all the rumors. We're not going to get into it.
Sean Payton.
There's a lot of rumors about the New Orleans Saints next season.
Yeah, Sean Payton, there is a big rumor that Sean Payton could be coming back to the Saints and bringing a quarterback with him, whether that quarterback be Lamar Jackson or Tom Brady. I mean, there's a lot of stuff rolling around the internet right now with the Sean Payton information. I personally don't think he's going to come back to the Saints. I think he's going to go to a team that has more upside, and their biggest problem is their coach, and I think that's the Arizona Cardinals. If there was a bet for, where is Sean Payton going to end up next, I'd probably bet Arizona.
That's interesting.
Cliff Kingsbury, 4 years in a row.
I'd like to see him in Denver.
I would like to see him in Denver.
That team really has a lot of upside.
And
I'm not going to put it all on Russell Wilson. I know a lot of it's his fault. Mm-hmm. He just hasn't played up to his own standards this season. But the coaching was also a big problem there.
Yeah,
that's true. Even in this first game, I saw plenty of questionable calls. And I think Sean Payton can really take care of that offense.
Yeah, and Nathaniel Hackett's already fired.
Yeah.
They don't have a coach right now. I think their special teams coordinator actually took over the duties.
And they're playing better.
Yeah, I think they won 2 weeks in a row. But yeah, I think I don't know if Sean Payton will go to Denver.
It's too cold.
Yeah.
He can't wear a visor up there.
No, he can't. Can't wear a visor, and he'd always have to wear a jacket. He can't wear his little signature quarter zip with the sleeves pulled up. In Arizona, it's hot, so he can wear whatever he wants. He can get a cool little mansion like Cliff Kingsbury has. But I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is going to stick around. I know they just paid him, but he's bad at his job. This is his 4th year in a row where the Cardinals were supposed to be good and they weren't. And him and Kyler Murray don't get along. Steve Keim, the GM, just stepped down for a unspecified amount of time, so we don't know what's going on over there. I could see Sean Payton coming in, bringing some stability to that team. Another team to look out for, probably the Dallas Cowboys. He's always rumored to go to Dallas, but the thing is, if Philly loses, Dallas wins, they lock up that 1 seed. It's hard to fire your coach after being a 1 seed.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to think of other places he can go.
The Chargers are another team he's been rumored to want to go to, but again, I don't see that happening. They locked up the playoffs, and if they end up getting the 5th seed and taking on Jacksonville, that's a winnable game. Do you fire a second-year coach who just made the divisional round of the playoffs when you already have Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams? I don't think you do.
No.
So I think, for me, the most realistic options are the 2 we named in the Cardinals and the Broncos. But, hey, don't rule out the Saints, I guess.
I mean, yeah. Looking into the season, a lot of people thought the Saints were going to be a pretty good team this year.
We all had, when we did our NFL predictions episode with Rebo on, actually, we all had the Saints making the top 3 seed. We all had them winning the division.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, and they can't even make the playoffs.
I think we have the talent. We just got the injury bug along with...
Injury bug, and let's be honest,
Yeah,
Dale Allen was a bad coach. If it were up to me, I would love to have Sean Payton back. I'm not trying to say Sean Payton, I don't want him. Just saying it doesn't make sense for him. He's an older coach who retired, and he probably wants to go in a situation where he feels like he can win right now. And the Saints are in such this weird limbo position that I don't know if they're ready to win right now. I think the Cardinals have more talent on their team if they perform to their maximum than the Saints do.
Yeah. Right now, yeah, I'd agree with that. But if the rumors were true in that Sean Payton's bringing a quarterback, I'd give that to the Saints.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you bring Lamar or Tom Brady, either one's better than Kyler Murray, in my opinion. Even 46-year-old Tom Brady. Even Ginny, better than Kyler Murray. So
we got a comment from your dad.
My father.
He said cheese, cheese, cheese.
Cheese, 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 indeed. Speaking about cheese, who owns that cheese shop? Oh, my God. I forget. Maybe he'll comment. I don't know. But yeah, if you said you also saw that rumor with Lamar. So if Lamar comes to New Orleans, Lamar and Kamara,
like I was saying in the last episode, draft coming up. Max Duggan could fall into the second round. And we've seen how good he can perform.
Yeah.
In this past weekend.
I mean, yeah, that's a great
segue into our next segment.
Great segue into talking about college football. Again, with the past college football playoff semifinals, we had TCU taking on Michigan and Georgia taking on Ohio State.
He has said the Antonellis.
Shout out, Dad. We are the Antonellis. But yeah, TCU versus Michigan. That game went from the beginning. It went the opposite way everyone expected. If there was going to be one team who dominated, it was supposed to be Michigan. I mean, we both said it was going to be a pretty close game. But yeah, I mean, TCU just from first whistle to last, TCU gave every single ounce of energy they had to winning that game, and it paid off. TCU beat Michigan. Max Duggan looked like a Heisman candidate, like he was. He finished second in voting. If you showed me what he did this past week, and I said, well, he should have been first.
He did play better than
Caleb Williams. I mean, don't get me wrong. Caleb Williams had a huge day for USC against Tulane.
He just didn't go out with the win.
He was 70%, 365 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, USC's defense really just let him down that game.
Absolutely. But yeah, Max Duggan had a huge day. TCU ends up upsetting Michigan. And then you had the Ohio State-Georgia game, which Ohio State looked like they had it.
Started out weird.
Started out very weird. They were going punch for punch, and Ohio State was up at halftime, 28-24. And even it felt like Ohio State was up more than 4 points at halftime.
Yeah.
Going into
it, felt like they had full control of that game.
Yeah,
they knew they had them exactly where they wanted them.
They were at a point in the game where they were up, I think it was 38-24 maybe at one point. They were definitely up by 2 possessions at one point late in the game, early fourth quarter. And then Georgia found that dog and ended up coming back. Last play of the game is a field goal by Ohio State, and he shanked it 80 yards to the left. So Georgia wins the game 42-41. We're looking at TCU versus Georgia in the national championship.
The line is not in TCU's favor.
TCU opened up at 15.5-point underdogs.
Most recent I saw they were at plus 13.5, which was last
They've already
night.
gotten 2 points.
Yeah.
But, they opened up very large underdogs, almost 2 touchdowns or more than 2 touchdowns, depending on, I guess, which sports book you look at. But do you think Georgia's actually going to win by that much? Because from what I saw, TCU can beat Georgia.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree because I think Michigan's a better team than Ohio State. I think they proved that
in the Michigan versus Ohio State game.
In their game. And TCU won that game against Michigan. I don't know if, just like a bad matchup happened between the two teams on both sides, really, in the TCU and in the Georgia game. But I did not expect TCU to be where they are right now, but I'm glad they are. I love this team. Max Duggan is just a whole nother animal when he gets put under pressure.
He is crazy. Max Duggan is he's so exciting to watch because you never know what he's going to do. He could make a super accurate outside the numbers on the sideline pass. He could take off for a 60-yard touchdown. He could bomb one deep to Quentin Johnson. He could, roll out right and deliver one on the run. There are so many things that Max Duggan can do in the football field that you wouldn't expect from a guy like Max Duggan. Like, just looking at him, it doesn't look like he can do everything he does, but he does it. Very impressive. TCU really, really impressed me against Michigan. I thought Michigan's defense, out of the 4 defenses that was in the playoff, I thought Michigan was easily the second best defense in there. And then TCU showed them up. They scored over 50 points on them. So
yeah, a lot was through the run game, though. TCU's running back had 17 carries for 150 yards.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is Max Duggan is showing everybody how good he is, but their running back is like, hey, I'm very good too.
Yeah, he only had 1 touchdown. However, Max Duggan had 2 on the ground and 2 in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So big day from him. 4 scores for a quarterback.
And we were talking in the last episode. You asked me where you think Max Duggan will go. Where would you like him to go?
I think he definitely just increases draft stock.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt in my mind. He looks fantastic, and he's definitely increasing his stock. Another guy who increased his stock, I think, this weekend is C.J. Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State. If I've ever seen a player deserve a win who didn't get it, it was C.J. Stroud. He left everything on that field. He did everything he needed to do for Ohio State to win that game. It's just their defense let him down late in the fourth quarter. C.J. Stroud played an absolute phenomenal game for Ohio State. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull out the win. But, I think every quarterback that we saw this past weekend all had great games. Whether it was the TCU and Michigan matchup or the Georgia and Ohio State matchup, all 4 quarterbacks showed out. And, we'll definitely see some draft implications coming up with those guys.
So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to a great game in this college football national championship. It's just crazy to think that TCU's gotten this far.
Yeah.
We all knew Georgia was going to be here.
Yeah. I mean, and you can use the term team of destiny. I know that gets thrown around especially for these like underdog teams where every single game you're like, they're not supposed to win, and then they find a way to win it. So you're like, okay, it must be destiny for them to win this. And that's kind of the vibes that TCU's giving off right now. Like, every single game you watch, they feel like an underdog, and then they win. I mean, the only time that they've lost is the Big 12 championship against Kansas State. And Max Duggan, we've talked about him plenty enough today, but I'm going to mention him again. He still looked really good in that Kansas State game. So I think they have a recipe to beat Georgia.
Yeah. And,
I don't think it's going to be a national championship where you don't think TCU is going to win.
Yeah, going back to what you said about them losing to Kansas State, it's hard to beat a team twice in college football.
It's hard to beat a team twice in any sport, really. But especially in football, where you, it's a long, grueling game, and you don't get to play as much as you get to play basketball or baseball. Baseball is 162 games. Basketball, there's 82. College football, you get 15 max.
Yeah. You get 15 games to show what you're worth.
Yeah, and that's only if you make the national championship. If you don't make the national championship, you get 13. If you don't make a bowl game, you get 12. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to talk about it on Friday again. While Reese is here, we're going to talk about it, kind of who we think is going to win.
Score predictions.
A couple metrics here and there. But, TCU's offense looked phenomenal. Georgia's offense showed that they're not perfect. However, Georgia's defense came to play in that second half, and TCU's defense still has some holes. So it's going to be a good matchup for sure. Preliminary feelings, I feel like it's going to be a close game. It's going to be closer than the spread says. Spread's at 13.5, like you said. I think it stays within 8 points either way.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I'd say it might even be closer, like a 5-point game.
Mm-hmm. I expect a lot of scoring, though. We got a lot of scoring in both semifinals. I don't expect that to change in the national championship. But it should be fun either way. Before we get into my favorite segment that we do every episode, which is B&B's Bets of the Week, quick note on the New Orleans Pelicans, who we're definitely going to be talking about on Friday when Reese comes in for his basketball talk. Pels are up halfway through the second quarter, so 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Pels are up 63-37 on the Rockets.
Wow.
Up 26 points, and remind you, we are without Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. Right now, our scoring leaders are Jose, CJ, and Najee Marshall. They're all in the double digits. Jose's got 13 off the bench with 3 threes. CJ's looking at 12 points total, 50% from the three-point line, and then Najee Marshall's got 11. He's also got the highest plus-minus, a metric I really like to talk about. He's plus 31 on the floor, playing phenomenal defense as well as 100% from the field right now. Shout out to the Pels.
Yeah.
Wearing a Pels shirt right now. Flock around and find out.
See, I'm wearing a Purdue-colored LSU shirt.
Oh, yeah. The usual after LSU plays Purdue, you wear the other team's colors in your color to assert dominance.
Yeah.
But yeah, B&B's bets, we like to do a little bit of betting every now and then. I went like 2 weeks without hitting a bet mainly because of those college football games. So unpredictable.
Yeah.
I hit one last night that was on the Jazz versus Kings game. What
was the outcome of that game?
So going into the fourth quarter, it was very, very close, and the game ended very close as well. It actually came down to Lauri Markkanen hitting a buzzer beater, but then they reviewed it, and the ball was just about to leave his hand when the clock went off. It was just literally on like the last segment of his finger. So the Kings ended up winning that game due to De'Aaron Fox exploding for 20 points in just the fourth quarter.
Wow.
He ended the game with 37 points, and they actually showed a metric after the game that De'Aaron Fox is the clutchest player in the NBA this season. Within the final 2 minutes of a game, if the game is within 5 points, De'Aaron Fox has the highest field goal percentage and the most points scored.
Wow.
So the Kings are very good this year, and De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, who is having the best year of his career, those are the two biggest reasons why. So I won a little bit of money on that game. But
and then the other night, Cavaliers Donovan Mitchell
dropped
put 71 points.
71 points. Unfortunately, he did that on the same night as DeMar Hamlin, so a lot of people weren't focused on Donovan Mitchell. They were more worried about the health of Hamlin. But, shout out to Donovan Mitchell. 71 points, man. Nobody scored 70 since D-Book back in 2018.
Yeah, there's only been 3 players since
3 players since 2000 who have done it.
2000, Kobe
with 81, Book with 70 exactly, and then Mitchell with 71. Only 4 players in history have done it, with those 3 adding to Wilt Chamberlain, who reportedly scored 100. Again, we don't know if that's true.
I like how you said reportedly.
Well, because they didn't actually keep stats back then, like as well as they do now. So they say he scored 100. I'm sure he did because he was playing against plumbers and electricians. But, Donovan Mitchell has been a phenomenal player this year for the Cavs. He's exactly what they needed, and they're looking very, very good right now. But again, We need to save some basketball talk for Friday because that's why we're getting Reese on. He is the basketball guy. So we'll make sure to talk about some basketball then. Let's talk about some bets. As we do every week, let's get into the road dogs. So if you don't know what a road dog is, that means you probably haven't watched before. So if this is your first time watching, welcome. This is the road dogs, where we give a betting underdog that is on the road in the NFL. So I've been doing a lot of talking. Why don't you give us your road dog, Byron?
All right. For Mustangs road dog this week,
Mustang.
we're actually taking the Giants.
Okay.
We're playing in Philly. Now, know what you're thinking. I also don't think they're going to win this game. However, they're giving them 14 points.
That's a lot of points.
In today's NFL, that is a lot of points.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't think it's too hard for the Giants to cover.
There's three ways you could think about this game, and we talked about this a little bit earlier on our way here. So either you can look at it from the perspective that I think you're looking at it from, where 14 points is a lot, especially when it's two division rivals who are both going to make the playoffs. It's two good football teams, and they're playing against each other in a Week 18 game that actually means a lot for one of them. So it makes sense that, it's not going to be a 14-point score. You could also look at it from, we don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to be healthy. Maybe they have Gardner Minshew starting again. The Eagles have looked bad the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that the Giants win, even if the Eagles are trying as hard as they can. However, you could also take the stance that the Giants will be the 6th seed whether they win or lose. It does not matter whether they win or lose. The Giants are going to be the 6th seed in the playoffs. So this game doesn't mean that much to them, really, other than the fact that they'll have double-digit wins on the season if they win. You can look back in a few years and you'll forget about why they won or whatever, and you'll just see that they had double-digit wins in a year where they have a brand-new head coach.
Well, there's that, and there's also, if you look at the playoff picture, there'll be 3 teams from the NFC East in the playoffs, in the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it has big implications for Philly right off the bat, but when you look down the line, it also has implications for the Giants because of, if they win, who would they have to play next? Who would they rather play? So if they just let Philly walk by and they don't want to face them later on.
Yeah, I mean, fair, because it affects the 1 seed standings, because if Philly loses and Dallas wins and, maybe I don't remember how, if San Fran would be bumped up, Minnesota's bumped up, Dallas automatically takes the 1 seed, division winners. That'll all matter later down the line in the divisional and conference championship rounds of the NFC playoff picture. So
now, do I think they're actually thinking about this stuff? No.
No. I think we're reading too much into it. But I like the pick because 14 points is too much. Whether both teams are trying their hardest or not, 14 points is a lot to cover in the NFL. I mean, we've seen the Chiefs go into overtime with the Texans, who they were supposed to beat by 17. I mean, you've seen some crazy stuff in the NFL this year, so 14 points is a lot to ask from anybody. My road dog is wishful thinking. Even if Seattle wins, it probably won't matter. But I'm taking Detroit to cover 4.5 at Green Bay. They asked Dan Campbell in a press conference today. They were like, hey, even if Seattle wins, how are you going to attack this game? And he's like, listen, I want nothing more than the electricity of going into Lambeau on Sunday Night Football and defeating the Packers. So I think Dan Campbell has the mindset of I don't care if we're getting to the playoffs or not. Look at what this team has done this year. There's no reason that they should be 500. They're 8-8 right now.
Yeah.
And if they win, they have a winning season for the first time in I don't even know how long.
Probably since Calvin Johnson was there.
Yeah, and it's. I think either way, just seeing that they go above 500 one year would be absolutely great to see from the Detroit organization. So they're going to fight their hardest to win, and it might taste good if you keep Green Bay out of the playoffs too. If you look back and you're like, hey, we're the reason our division rival didn't make the playoffs. Probably feel pretty good in the offseason. So I'm going to take Detroit to cover 4.5. They may not win the game. They may win the game. I think it really depends on that Seattle versus Rams matchup. But division matchup in Lambeau on Sunday Night Football, I think it should be a close one. Give me Detroit to cover 4.5.
Yeah. I'd like to see Detroit win too, especially if Seattle loses and Detroit can sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I don't know if you can bet on this at all on the odds, but one question I wanted to ask you, we're pretty much assuming that Texans get the number 1 pick. Who do you think is the betting? Who would you bet on to be the number 1 pick in the 2023 NFL draft?
Bryce Young.
I would probably say the same. I think C.J. Stroud's going to try to make his argument based on what he did in this past game. He went 23 for 34, 350 yards, and 4 touchdowns against Georgia. QBR is rated out of 100. It's not like the rating is out of 153, but QBR itself is out of 100, and he had like a 95.3 or something.
Wow.
So C.J. Stroud had an amazing game against Georgia. So I think, that is something that NFL GMs will probably look at and be like, hey, if he can do that against a Georgia defense that we know is going to have a lot of NFL players, I wonder what he'll do at the NFL level with a lot more talent around him. So I think it'll probably come down to Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. But I think as of right now, I'd take Bryce Young too, just because he looked amazing in his bowl game too.
Yeah.
Alabama smoked Kansas State, and Bryce Young only threw 5 incompletions. So he threw the same amount of incompletions as he did touchdowns in that game. So I would take Bryce Young as well to go reinvigorate that Texans franchise with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, as great as he is, still couldn't beat LSU.
Sorry about it.
Crazy how that works.
Sorry about it. We were on the West, boy. All right, and then before we close out of here, I know we started a little bit late, so we're gonna end a little bit early so y'all can get out of here. I have this big book of football trivia with me here, and
I'm terrible at this.
shout out. Okay, buddy. Shout out to my parents for Christmas. Oh, Happy New Year, by the way. I don't think we've seen them since the New Year started. Happy New Year to everyone. It's 2023 now. That just clicked in my brain. But yeah, I've got this big book.
We'll have to make up for it next episode.
Yeah. Oh, next episode's gonna be fun. We might have an hour and a half on next episode to make up.
We might not even talk about any news or anything.
We're just gonna bull crap the entire episode. Maybe 2 hours long with Rebo sitting in between us. So I'm gonna ask Byron some questions out of this football trivia book. Byron,
and then I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Okay. So we've got 7 chapters in this book. You tell me which chapter you want. I will read you the context of each chapter. So chapter 1's the draft, chapter 2 is teams, chapter 3 is players, chapter 4 is coaches, chapter 5 is the Super Bowl, chapter 6 is bloopers, and chapter 7 is Hall of Fame.
Give me players.
Players, that is chapter 3.
For 400.
I don't think that's how this game works. This is a little interesting concept to end this podcast. I hope y'all listen and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do well on this.
We'll ask each other 5 questions each. How does that sound?
Oh, Lord. That's a lot.
Okay. Let's see. Players.
Hit me.
Wait, hold up, man.
I like to live dangerously.
So we're going to go. We have I'm seeing.
Some of the fans will know what movie that's from.
4,
I know you won't.
5. I didn't listen to a word you said. It looks like we have 5 different sections within the player section, so I'm going to ask you one from each section.
Okay.
All right, so this one is name that player.
Oh, God.
The question for you.
Reese, I hope you're studying.
Reese, pay attention. This is what we meant by trivia. Rank these quarterbacks by their total career passing yards.
Total career passion zone.
Yes, passion zone. Exactly. The 4 quarterbacks to name: Kerry Collins, Dan Fouts, Joe Montana, and Vinny Testaverde. Rank them by passing yards in their career.
Oh,
Dan Fouts, Kerry Collins, Joe Montana, Vinny Testaverde.
This is tough. This is not the quarterbacks I was expecting to hear.
No, of course you weren't. Let's do 3 questions each. This is going to take a little bit longer than I thought.
Okay. Give me Montana, Fouts, Testaverde, Collins.
Repeat that one more time.
Montana, Fouts, Testaverde, Collins.
Okay, so you had one of them in the correct spot, and that was Dan Fouts. He is second with 43,040 yards. Would you like to know the answers, or would you like one more guess?
I'm going to go again.
Okay. So you had Dan Fouts in the correct spot, so your last 3 are Kerry Collins, Joe Montana, Vinny Testaverde.
I feel like it's a trick question.
I'm not giving you any answers, man.
Any help from the comments? Nope.
No. Kerry Collins, Joe Montana, and Vinny Testaverde. 1 is 3, 1 is 4, 1 is 1.
Okay, give me Testaverde at the 1.
Okay. So we know Fouts is at 2, so who's 3 and 4?
Montana. Oh, wait, no. Collins, Montana.
That would be correct. Testaverde is number 1 out of those guys with 46,000. Fouts 43. Collins just under 41,000, and Montana at 40,500. Never would have thought Montana would have been last,
Yeah.
huh? All right, so that was Name That Player. Now we're going to go on to...
This was before our time, too. So.
We're going to go into Unbelievable Plays. So this is like, who is known for this unbelievable
David
play?
Tyree.
That is actually the first question. I'm not going to ask you that one. So this one is... I like this one. Which quarterback is known for the original Hail Mary pass? Which quarterback is the... I guess you could... I wouldn't say he's the originator, but which one's known for the very first... making the Hail Mary pass famous?
How long ago was this?
Looking at the name here, he is from the 70s. Very popular quarterback.
Fran Tarkenton.
No, the answer is Roger Staubach.
Yeah.
He kind of, with those Cowboys, kind of threw up long passes that were low probability. Roger Staubach.
Cool.
And finally, we're going to go with who said it. So this is a quote from an NFL player, and you have to tell me who said this quote. I actually use this quote a lot.
So this is a quote.
This is a quote from an NFL player, and I actually say this a lot. I don't know if you know I say it a lot, but I do. The quote is, "I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid." Which NFL player said, "I may be dumb, but I'm not stupid"?
This sounds like a very dumb thing to say.
Some would say.
What decade are we talking?
We are talking 70s as well.
70s as well?
Probably the most famous quarterback of the 70s, I would say.
I don't know. No.
Would you like one more hint?
Yeah.
He played college football in Louisiana.
Terry Bradshaw?
It is Terry Bradshaw. Said,
What?
I don't know. We just had a yell from
Yeah,
Soundboy.
I couldn't really hear what it was.
If you're talking to us, Soundboy, come through the doorway and let us know. But why don't you take on over?
Okay. Gladly.
The answers are the pink section in the back. You'll have to find the number.
Okay.
You? Okay.
What did he say?
Thug Nasty got 2 out of the 3 correct.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to Thug Nasty, but you didn't get 100%. You got 67%, which at LSU that's a D. So 1 out of the 3. Oh, you got the first one and the third one. You didn't get the second one. Yeah, fair enough. I don't blame you.
So do you want the same category?
No, I want draft.
Oh.
I'm a draft guy. You know
Yeah,
how much
you
I love
are.
the draft. 4th favorite movie of all time, Draft Day. Terrible movie.
It is a
Absolutely
terrible
terrible movie. So ask me 3 questions from the draft section. I know this is my book, but it's been here since
we
I
haven't
got
touched
it.
it.
I haven't touched it, so I don't know anything.
So
in here.
they have different categories in this. They have general,
Okay.
and then they have each division.
Okay. Why don't you give me like 2 general and like an NFC South?
Okay.
Because I'll probably know the most about the NFC South. Or like, no, do 1 general, 1 NFC, 1 AFC. How about we do it that way?
Okay. Yeah. These are
He's thinking hard about this.
these are some.
They're tough questions, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Trying to find one that's.
I could
not-
tell by reading the other sections that they were tough. Am I going to know any of these? Should I pick a different section?
Can you name the 3 running backs selected first overall to win NFL Rookie of the Year honors?
3 running backs selected first overall to win Rookie of the Year.
You said I got to find them in.
Yeah, they're in the pink section. You can. It'll just be the number of the question.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna go. Looking at the names, do I know any of them?
Yes.
Give me Ricky Williams.
No.
Oh, that's upsetting.
Would you like the years?
Sure.
So the first one's 1978,
That's not going to help me much.
then 1980,
Okay.
and 1981.
Okay. Is Eric Dickerson one of them?
No.
Is Herschel Walker one of them?
No.
Can you give me a multiple choice?
I'll give you the teams.
Okay. Give me. Okay, that might help.
So the first one's the Houston Oilers.
Okay. Earl Campbell,
Correct. Next one is the Detroit Lions.
Barry Sanders.
No.
Okay.
Before Barry Sanders.
I don't know who was before Barry Sanders.
This is the 80s, not the 90s.
I don't know who before Barry Sanders was. I'm not going to sit here and act like I do. I'm a pass.
And the New Orleans Saints.
Shoot. Saints in 81. Do you know this guy?
No.
Is it Reuben Mays?
No.
Is it Dalton Hilliard? I'm going to have to pass on this one, too. I look like an idiot right now.
Yeah.
Who was it?
So in 80,
Uh-huh.
for the Detroit Lions, it was Billy Sims.
Okay, I should have known that.
And for the Saints, it was George Rogers.
Oh, I should have known that one, too. Okay, I'm upset with myself. All right. Give me an NFC question.
NFC first.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the South, by the way. You can pick whatever division.
Cool.
Oh, I hear
we got a little
somebody
echo in
watching
here.
our podcast.
These are kind of easy.
All right, good. Give me an easy one. One of us has to get one of these questions right on first try.
Which Hall of Fame New York Giants player was drafted second overall in 1981?
1981. All right. I have two names that immediately come to mind. They are Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor. Immediately come to mind. I'm going to go... You said he's a Hall of Famer? Is that what the question was? Which New York Giants Hall of Famer was drafted second overall?
Yes.
I'm going to go LT.
Correct.
Cool.
He was drafted right after George Rogers.
Wow.
Crazy how that works.
Crazy how the Saints could have had Lawrence Taylor with the Dome Patrol. Imagine Lawrence Taylor with Ricky Jackson, Sam Mills, and Vaughn Johnson.
So now you want the AFC?
Yeah, give me an AFC question, and that's how we'll end this podcast tonight.
Oh, I know the answer to this one.
Okay, cool.
Which two college teammates were both drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in 2001?
2001 college teammates. Wow. If you would have told me 2019 and 2020, I would have been able to answer that one really quick. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. 2001 Cincinnati Bengals drafted two guys from the same college. Can you give me their positions?
Receiver
Uh-huh.
and tight end-ish.
Okay. The tight end-ish is going to be TJ Hushmanzada.
Correct.
Where did he go? He went to USC, right? No? They didn't go to USC? Where did you?
Unless this book is wrong. No, he didn't.
No, the book's probably not wrong. Hushmanzada and 2001. I'm guessing it's Chad Johnson.
Yes.
Wow.
You know the college.
I mean, I said USC, so probably not, but...
Right conference.
Yeah.
Oh, we're back to this. Right conference.
Oh, here we go. Pac-12 team. It's not Oregon.
No.
It's not UCLA.
No.
It's not Stanford.
No.
It's not Washington State.
No.
It's not Arizona.
No.
It's not Arizona State. Is it Cal?
No.
Is it Utah?
No.
Is it Utah State?
No.
Have I named every Pac-12 team except for this one? Probably. They obviously can't be that good. I don't know, man.
Think about it. Come on.
Pac-12.
What's your favorite team in the Pac-12?
My favorite team in the Pac-12?
Your sarcastic favorite team in the Pac-12?
Colorado?
No.
I have a favorite Pac-12 team? I don't think I do.
You said the state already. You just did put state behind the name.
Washington State?
No.
Oregon State?
Yes.
Oh, Oregon State. Ugh. Inside jokes. They'll kill you every time. Shout out Gary Payton. Yeah, that's, you got to watch us sound like idiots at the end of this podcast, which we usually do the entire way through anyway. But next episode, I promise, is going to be so fun. It might be a long one.
It might be an hour of just that.
It might be. It's going to be such a fun episode. I can't wait until Friday when we have Rebo on sitting right here in between us. We're going to go over NFL playoffs. We're going to go over the college football playoff. And then for probably an hour alone, we'll go over NBA, the Pelicans, and some fun trivia like that. So make sure to tune in Friday. Not sure if it's going to be 6 or 7 yet. Make sure to follow us on Facebook to get that update. That's Off the Dome Sports Podcast on Facebook. You'll know it's us by the yellow logo. So make sure to follow us on Facebook to get that update, whether it's 6 or 7. But either way, it'll be Mustang and Redfish here with Rebo talking some spoats. So thank you for listening in on newrockradio.us. Thank you for watching on Radio House Studios. And we will see you on Friday.
Can y'all quit acting like y'all didn't know? Yeah, took a break, but better hold your nose. Yeah, I've been cooking, don't inhale the smoke. Been busy dropping hooks, Peter